Start your day just right. Welcome to Mornings Together with Rob, Mon, and Bernie.
Oh, good morning, everyone. How are you doing?
I love it. Good. Oh my gosh, that is so good.
So you may notice things start a little bit differently today. You know, we figured we're about 5 weeks into this whole thing. Why not do a brand refresh? Still the same.
Right.
Still the same content, still the same host, but do a whole new brand refresh. So I hope you enjoyed that. Michaela Gary's already chimed in saying, wow, fancy.
Yes, Mancy.
Come on. And George Allison saying, morning, missed you guys. Nice new introduction vid and graphics. So thank you. I hope you like it. We got a new outro as well, but you can see I was a bit busy over the weekend just refreshing things, but it's nice that you guys are liking it already. Mon, Rob, how are you on this fine morning that we're having today?
It is. It's such a beautiful day, man. I'm so I know I keep saying this every time, but I'm digging autumn in a big way. It is absolutely stunning, beautiful. And yesterday, even with the cozy rainy day, it was like perfect for a Sunday. And now today it's stunning. So stoked. Yeah.
It's the perfect day to just sit inside, watch a movie, hang out with the kids, play some Xbox with my boy. He got really hicked off because I was playing cricket with him, Don Bradley cricket. He was just like, how are you good at everything? I said, I'm not good at Fortnite, but I'm good at cricket. So,
come on. It was a wild day yesterday, wasn't it? It was howling. Yeah. We spent most of the afternoon just watching The Office, rewatching the American version of The Office.
So good, I know.
Which is nice. Whilst also sheltering ourselves from because our house, like the wind just blows right through it, so like it sounds like one of those haunted houses on a hill kind of thing on the best of days, if there's any kind of wind going on. But want to hear from our people who are watching today, and you can be watching on the church website or on YouTube or on Facebook. It is great to have you with us. Let us know in the comments what you guys got up to this weekend. It was kind of like the first short weekend in a while, actually, because we've had a run of longer weekends.
Yeah.
Then again, what does that really mean in this current environment with, everything's kind of just out the window in terms of normality? You get to Friday and you're like, well, tomorrow is just another day. So I want to hear what's going on for people in the comments. Of course, today is one of my favorite days of all time. Not only do we have one of my favorite people as our guests on the show today, but it's also Star Wars Day, May the 4th.
Come on.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you.
In the background there, which Eric picked up on pretty much straight away. So thank you. Darren Porter says Morena. Tina Porter also says good morning to us. They're both watching this morning. We've also got Graham Randall. Happy Monday, wonderful team.
Yeah,
and John good morning team as well. So, by the way, John, that's a fantastic profile picture. I just love that his eyes are there at the bottom.
Slightly lower and you'll just get full nostrils. It's just
Yeah.
We love you, JD. Yeah.
Graham Randall's actually saying, Mon, that it's your day. It's Mon's day.
It's Mon's day. Yeah.
Monday.
That's great. I like that. We're going to crack straight into things because we want to bring out a guest as soon as possible as we can today. Flavor Rob, hit us with your flavor tip of the day.
Yeah,
Flavor Rob.
Come on.
Here we go. All right. So today I want to talk about something, the humble sandwich. Okay. The humble sandwich. We've talked about burgers. We've talked about all sorts of things, but we're at home and we're trying to be creative about lunches and that sort of thing. And so I think sandwiches are like one of my favorite things in the world because you can be so creative with them. Most of us go, oh, let's just put some Marmite on there and she's all good. But I want to go down the same path we did with burgers. All right. So there's 3 key areas I want us to think about when it comes to good sandwiches. Number one, the quality of the bread. Okay, so you got sourdough, you've got a baguette, you can have flatbread. I've seen people use pancakes as their bread to roll them up, or quesadillas. So your bread is the essential base because you don't have a great deal of other carbs you stick in them. Then the second part of that is sauces. Okay, so you got things like chutneys, you got good mustards, you've got your best sort of chili sauces and what have you. It really depends what you put on. And then the third element is texture. I think one of the things that people forget about when they're cooking, okay, is that texture is such an important part of the eating experience. Okay, so we've got things like pickles, putting a good pickle on a sandwich. Come on, Americans love that. We've got chips, crisps in New Zealand, as we would call them, chips. Cheese, putting some fresh greens on there. Cheese, and I mean, there's several different varieties of cheese you can stick on there. All adds good flavor. And then you've got all the way down to something like that's a toasted, everyone loves a good toasty with whatever you put in there. I'm saying warm your sandwich and put your greens in second, just open that sucker up, stick them in there. But trying to get all of those different things, everything from smoked salmon, getting a really nice ripe fig and just squishing that on a sandwich. Oh, my word. With a little bit of cheese, prosciutto, bacon, and hot chips. Don't tell me you haven't had a bacon butty or a hot chip butty with some sauce and some butter. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love about that? There's saltiness, there's a different texture. There's that beautiful dripping butter coming out and tomato sauce. Come on, people. Okay, so those are the key things. Fresh basil leaves, roasted vegetables. You can have open sandwiches. You can roll them up, everything. Okay, I'm getting you hungry for lunch. But it's a few things, keywords: crunch, fresh, chewy, warm. Keep all those things in mind. Experiment with flavors.
Dude, come on. This is awesome.
There you go.
So good. But you're right about Americans and pickles. When I was in the States a couple months ago, everything I ordered had a pickle on the side, no matter what it was. I'm like, okay, we love pickles. It was so good.
I think in the comment section today, I think we should petition Rob to open his own sandwich store once we get to level 1, level 2, I think. So if you want a Rob made sandwich, you should chuck that in the comments, and we'll see what we can do. We'll talk to Pedro, the manager, and see what we can get going.
That's right, a sandwich shop.
George is saying that she loves a bit of beetroot relish on my sandwiches for a bit of a change.
Ooh, yeah.
Darren is chimed in saying, "Don't be dissing, just put a Marmite on it, mate."
Gotta live a little there, Dazzler. Gotta live a little.
We are an inclusive show. If you like the simple taste, if you like the more complex taste, that's right. Okay. All right. Do it. You do. Boo-boo. All right. Well, we'll move on from that. But yes, continue to let us know how those recipes and things are going. Send them through your pictures and your stories to stories@bethlehem.org.nz. If you want a recipe from Rob, like the chocolate pavlova from last week, which sounded amazing, or the pumpkin pie from the week before that, just buy that. Stories at Bethlehem, and Rob can hook you up with the recipes. But we also want to see what's going on for you and your family, stories about what's going on for you, especially maybe if you're back at work and under level 3. It'd be great to hear from you. You can also tag the church on all social medias using @BethBapChurch. And if you have a prayer request during the season as well, you can use the keyword BBC prayer and send that through to 4040, and that goes to our prayer team. We have a wonderful care team who are equipped to help you guys during this time. So if you need help for any reason or any way, you can get in touch with Care at Bethlehem or give the church a call as well. There are actually also counseling services available under level 3 as well from the church as well, and you can get in touch with them via counseling@bethlehem.org.nz or give the church a call. Once we're done here on a each morning, the show goes out as an audio podcast, and it's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can check that out later in the day. All welcome to those who are watching later in the day or listening later in the day via those services. It's great to have you with us, even though you're not here with us live in this very moment. I'm glad that this content can still be reaching you and helping you out as you go through this time. We'll just check back in with the comments again. Darren has chimed in with his, I think one of his favorite sandwiches is it's a hot peanut butter sandwich. So put butter and peanut butter on a sandwich and then microwave it for 30 seconds, hot BBS.
Wow.
Okay.
Your adventure, your sense of adventure is limitless there, Darren. Wow.
Maybe keep coming in with your favorite sandwiches in there. We'll come back to that. We might have started something, unfortunately. Well, we'll carry on. We'll carry on. They've been the best of things. We just keep on trucking along. So yes, we are in level 3. The whole point of the show is, how do we be together in times of isolation? I watched a great talk on the weekend from Dr. Henry Cloud and Patrick Lencioni, and just encouraging, being okay with the fact that, we may be grieving the old normal, and that once we come out of this, whenever that is, there's going to be a new normal, and so just being aware of that and actually approaching this time with more relationship building, and not being so professional and efficient kind of thing, but more effective and relational, which I really like. And so for me, the heart of the show that I really enjoy is diving into that. And that's why I love the fact we can bring in comments, the fact that Rob and Mon, we can banter each day and hang out and stuff like that, and actually kind of talk through this stuff in a local setting. But I'm loving, I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving the guests we're bringing on, and just the different perspectives we're hearing.
Yes.
And today's guest is no exception to this. So let me tell you a bit more about our guest today. So his name is Ben Pierce. He's a good friend of mine. He is our first international guest, though he did live in New Zealand for a significant part of time in his youth. He is the author of Jesus in the Secular World. How's that for a little? We're taking the step up on the show this morning. I've got a whole book prompt. So he's a member of the Tiger International Leadership Team. He's the creative director for Come and Live, a worldwide community that mobilizes artists, creators, and influencers to reach the disciple the global youth culture. He is the chief communicator for Provoke and Inspire. So he leads a weekly podcast called the Provoke and Inspire podcast. He writes articles, he teaches seminars, and speaks regularly at churches, conferences, and universities and seminaries around the world. He challenges people to live lives of radical faith and courageously engage the global youth culture with the gospel. He's also the lead singer and guitarist for No Longer Music, a band some of you may have heard of if you've been at BBC.
Right on.
But that, for those who don't know, it's an evangelistic music and theatrical production group that uses the stage to communicate the gospel of Jesus in nightclubs, city squares, and festivals around the world to young people who had never stepped foot in a church. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my good friend, Ben Pierce. Hey, Ben.
Let's go, Ben.
Yeah, Ben, right on.
So I need a little bit of clarity real quick because Rob said a warm sandwich. Now, I don't know, maybe that's a cultural thing, but warm? Do you mean hot?
Yeah.
Like literally warm, like lukewarm? What kind of warm are we talking about?
Well, it was actually Darren's idea of warming a sandwich with peanut butter in it, but for me,
that's bad.
toasted is better, is way better. So
Okay.
get that toasted sandwich, then put something fresh inside, keep the crunch.
So you're not like blow dry it quickly, warm sandwich. Okay, we're talking like
quick microwave.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention is I love you guys have your little your random segment at the beginning of your podcast because we do too. But recently we've had some controversy because we got a 1-star review.
Oh, wow.
We've had lots of reviews, and it was a guy that was really angry, and I actually think he was from the Southern Hemisphere. That's my theory because he used a word that's somewhat of a naughty word, bloody. Which no American would use. We don't have many listeners from the UK, but he was really annoyed by the banter the first 10 minutes. So we've established what's called the Bruce Red Line. His name's Bruce. Sorry.
Yep. I like that.
We have established the Bruce Red Line, which is a 10-minute mark. If we exceed that, we know we're going to get some hate from Bruce. But anyway, you guys were at 9 minutes, so well done.
Oh, yeah.
He must be Australian. That's all I can say. Bruce,
the name like Bruce. Using the word bloody. He must be Australian.
Yeah, he's been the source of a lot of angst for us. But anyway, we're working through it. So
there you go.
So
well,
good.
Ben, it is so good to have you with us today. Quite a hefty introduction, I have to say. I had to write it down so that I could capture kind of like a snapshot of what it is that you do.
Amazing.
Not even everything.
I sleep 3 hours a week, basically, is the point. Yeah.
You just like the Energizer Bunny. You just keep going and keep producing content and keep doing stuff and just hopping around the place.
Phenomenal.
So Ben, you are our first international guest, but like I said in your intro, you're not really too far away from the whole New Zealand thing because you grew up here. But why don't you tell us a bit about that, but also about your family and what you've been up to the last few weeks under lockdown in the States?
Yeah. So my life has been segmented quite logically because I spent the first 8 years in Amsterdam. So kind of I would say more like my childhood was Amsterdam. So very iconic. Like I was a Dutch kid. I mean, soccer, living right in the heart of the city, all the Dutch traditions, very much felt immersed in that culture. Really see that as I really am grateful for that experience in that season of my life.
Yeah.
And then for a story that's too long to share here, we moved to New Zealand when I was 9. And then I spent sort of my adolescence in New Zealand. So I did the whole high school experience in New Zealand, the whole uniforms and the whole works. So I was fully immersed in that. It was survival some days, I got to be honest. But it was good. I played cricket. I was a little too skinny, as you can probably tell, for rugby. So I cheered it on, but I didn't play it personally. But no, New Zealand was a huge part of my life. It still is. I mean, my kids, through some sort of diplomatic finagling, actually have Kiwi passports, which I'm really grateful to pass down to them.
Awesome.
My parents are there now, stuck, actually. I mean, they're supposed to be here. Today was actually supposed to be the day we do our No Longer Music send-off show in Minneapolis. So it's kind of a surreal, weird day, actually, got to be honest. It's like became quite real for me today. Like, wow, like we're supposed to be having this send-off, and then we're supposed to be going on this tour. But here we are. So yeah, New Zealand is will always be dear to my heart. Some of my greatest friends are still there, obviously. Bernie being one of them. And yeah, no, it's always going to be a big part of my life.
Yeah, nice. So
good.
tell us about your family. Like, so you're married to Courtney, and you've
Yep.
got 2 kids.
Yeah.
One on the way. How things have
Yeah.
been? What's that been like? And
Well, if I could have like written the story of my life, I don't think I would have chosen to have 2 kids under the age of 4 during lockdown. Fellow parents of similar ages can probably attest.
Yeah.
That it is quite a challenge. Yeah, honestly, I feel like I catch myself when I want to complain, because truthfully, compared to the plights of those around the world, we're healthy, we're safe, we're in a nice house, we have plenty of food to eat. Our livelihoods to date have not been threatened in any way. And even also the lockdown that Minnesota is in relative to other parts of the world has been pretty chill. I mean, we can't technically see other people, we can't go to restaurants, and some of our usual entertainment options have been curtailed. But apart from that, I mean, we're outside all the time, or we can go to parks. And I mean, so really, has it been difficult? Sure, relative to maybe what life was like before. But for anyone who has a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, life is always difficult. So diminishing returns being what they are, I kind of feel like my kids prepared me for quarantine, because it's always a little bit survival.
Yep.
But no, we're good, man. Like, I really don't feel like complaining is appropriate, given just how blessed we really are in light of everything else.
Nice, man.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people are probably watching this now who's saying preach about the kids under 4 thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's hectic, and it's hard because they can't process or understand why all of a sudden they're not with their friends, why we can't go to the zoo, we can't go, all the different options, the things you do as a parent, you're literally just trying to go from thing to thing to thing to kind of get through it. I know that sounds like really dramatic, but that is kind of how you do it.
True.
And so suddenly to be limited, but there's blessings too, right? Like for those that are watching that have kids, it's like that I was caught myself saying to my wife, like, having less options hasn't made me like less happy. In some ways, I actually feel less stressed, and I felt more content just going, okay, this is what we got. Like, my wife and I kind of do this tag team thing so that we can get some work done. And then we're just at home and we make it work, and we are forced to be creative, and we come up with games. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of ridiculous games I've come up with, and most of them are too embarrassing to admit in this sort of context. But like, I mean, we're doing obstacle courses, we're building forts, we're inventing games.
Love it.
And so it's like, it's weird because our culture says choice is what you want. Entertainment is what you need. You need constant stimulation and variety all the time. Yeah. And I have actually found that as things have become more simple, I've become less stressed, and I'm less worried about it. I'm not looking at each like day and night as a battle I have to navigate. Just a reality I've come to accept. And because of that, I have more peace, even as a dad and a husband, which I think is pretty cool.
It's really
good.
So
good.
So true. Well, that helps us. That actually is a natural segue into the next few questions we wanted to talk to you about. So the first thing I want to talk about is we had Nora and Wendy Schneider, who are based here in Wellington. They're New Zealand-based missionaries for Steiger, and they were sharing briefly about the Hope Beyond Fear hashtag project that you guys have been doing over the last number of weeks, kind of thing. I think it started even pre-lockdown, kind of thing, and then it really ramped up during lockdown. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the history of it. It's like you were saying before I came on, every day kind of blurs together to this homogenous blob of days. But we were like everybody else, right? We have all these plans. We're very itinerant in what we do. But I think also a strength of our mission is that we are primarily made up of local people doing local work in their own contexts. And so that's made us quite versatile, because we were immediately able to say, okay, we can't necessarily, have this sort of cross traveling and you go here, we go there. But what is it that we can do to kind of rally around something that would give people hope? Because I think the initial response to a situation like this is to feel immobilized, right? This is too big for me. Like I can't do anything. It's so uncertain. I don't know what my response could be at a time like this. And so we felt like if we could create this hashtag Hope Beyond Fear, that would give people an opportunity to do something, right? So it started just write a sign, write something on a sign, something that would point people to Jesus, go out, go out on the street. And this was actually kind of as the lockdown was taking place. So fortunately, people had that flexibility. And we started getting thousands of people doing this. And then we started releasing videos. And there's a channel that I think you might bring up, but it's called Is There More? And really kind of pre the chaos that started, at least here in the US, we released a video where I was just basically kind of out loud processing the idea that we live in a world where suffering is constant, where thousands, tens of thousands of people are dying daily from starvation, where basic curable diseases are just wiping people out, and we don't care. Yeah. And it's only until something personally affects us that we start freaking out. And so the basic premise of the video is, what does a time like this reveal about my heart? What does it reveal about your heart? And really what it does is it reveals that until it threatens your family and your own life, you'll just let suffering go on indefinitely. Yeah. And it must have struck a nerve, because it had like, I don't know, 380,000 views, shared almost 1,000 times, I think. And I don't know, we've just continued now to create this content that hopefully would give people some hope in a pretty confusing time. Yeah.
Like I said, when looking into things last week before bringing you on today, is like, that video in particular had over 380,000 interactions, but all your content that you're bringing out there is having this huge engagement, and the hashtags having this huge engagement. So you're speaking into this need, or the questions that our people are asking, which is awesome to see. Yeah. But yeah, I love what you say in that video. You say something along the lines of, "This isn't the first time we've had crisis. Why are we freaking out so much?" It's essentially what you're saying, kind of thing. Why the big upset, kind of thing. So you've been doing a lot of this, and is there more stuff, and especially during this season? What have been the things that people have been really engaging with, the questions and stuff like that? Because I was listening to an article on the weekend about how in this time we're actually seeing a rise in people wanting to engage spiritually, because of crisis, but also because their foundations have been stripped out from underneath them. So they're kind of asking all those foundational questions again. What do I gravitate my life around? Right. This is what you've been seeing with the content you've been releasing and the conversations you've been having?
Yeah, I mean, I think "How do I pray" was one of the most highly searched Google things.
Wow.
Like one of the most highly searched things on Google in the wake of all of this collapsing, all the pandemic spreading. I think one thing you hear a lot is that, we have postmodernism is kind of a thing, right? Which is man is at the center, secular humanism. We are heading towards this inevitable utopia. Anything we put our minds to, we will figure out. We're ascending. All we need is more education and more science, and we'll get there. Yeah. But you also see, and people are starting to predict sort of a postmodernism, which is that people are starting to question whether that's true. I mean, you had sort of the rise of militant atheism about 10 years ago, and everyone it was Dawkins, it was Hitchens, it was the Four Horsemen or whatever, but the brute reality of secularism began to dawn on people that, do I really want to believe that this is true about the world? Yeah. And I think what a time like this has revealed is it's just humbled us globally. It's humbled all of us. Like, it's not just an atheist Christian thing, but I think a human thing that, my goodness, like, for all of our science and all of our technology and all of our it's just the arrogance of it all. When this little multiplying bug can just bring the planet to its knees, really. I think it's opened up people to ask and think about the major questions, because suddenly the God of science doesn't seem so much like a deity anymore, and there's still people that will reinvest in that delusion. But the truth is, we are incredibly vulnerable. We are desperate for something bigger than ourselves. And that has just been brought into the forefront of every person. And naturally, I think that leads to people wanting to know, is there something more? I need hope beyond this, which is why the Hope Beyond Fear campaign is relevant, because science has let us down. Politics has let us down. Our global systems have let us down. And I think naturally that is an opportunity for the gospel.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. No, so good. And like you're right, isolation has caused us to confront us. You can't run away from you. There's nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Distraction, you can only do so much, but 5 weeks in, or however long you guys have been in isolation, it's like, okay, here I am, and you got to face some stuff.
You've watched all the Netflix you could possibly watch within a certain period of time. Like, all your distractions are falling away, and it's just leaving you bare.
Right. You know, it's like it wasn't exactly on the same subject, but I reshared something that Tom DeLonge, kind of a closet hero of mine, not for the UFO stuff or maybe even his morals, but more just the nostalgia of pop punk. But anyway, it's like the whole world has been put in a timeout, you know, and it's kind of true, right? It kind of feels like we've all just been made to stop and to think and to say, what are we so confident in? Look at how vulnerable we truly are. And I think a lot of people are feeling pretty unsettled, I think is the right word in a time like this.
Yeah. I think I've heard a lot of people say there's a grieving of control. And, you know, we also, you know, control is a false truth because, you know, you can't really fully be in control of anything. The only power you really have is in the art of surrendering to the fact that you're out of control, and we submit to a higher power, which is God, in terms of he's in absolute control kind of thing. But there's this grieving of control that is just rampant everywhere. And I think it's leading to a lot of these conversations about everything that I used to be able to do, like my weekly rhythms, my people I could go see, all that's gone now. I feel completely hopeless and out of my, you know, I think you said at the beginning of the conversation, it's kind of like this overwhelming thing that just made people freeze in a way of like, it's just too overwhelming to carry on.
Right.
I'm just stuck.
Yeah. I've been reading I've finished it now, but a book called Renovation of the Heart by Dallas Willard. I'd recommend it if you haven't checked it out. But he defined peace in a really brilliant way. And he basically said peace is getting to the point where you don't need to have your way. Like where you're just, you don't need to have things go your way. And you just become content with that. And I think we've all gotten a healthy dose of not having things go our way, right? Our schedules have been wiped. Our plans have been just sort of, we have to throw them all out and reevaluate everything. And I think that the unsettled feeling that a lot of people have is that, like you said, that illusion of control has been stripped away. And they now realize that they are at the mercy of forces far beyond their control. And they are not okay with not having things go their way. And so they feel an incredible amount of disruption because they can't control even the basics anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the rising of that feeling of injustice, like this is so unfair that I'm out of my league, out of my control again.
Exactly.
And you have this very unique perspective because of the projects and the people that you get to engage in. And you get to hear a lot of this on the Provoke and Inspire podcast that you guys do in terms of the different guests from different places and things you get to talk to. But as we've journeyed through this COVID-19 crisis, from this international perspective that you get to have, what has God been speaking to you through this time? And I know we've probably covered off little bits of this already in the conversation we've had, but what has God been specifically speaking to you in this time? And how should we being just the people who are listening and watching this right now, be responding in our day-to-day as we continue?
You know, we have one thing that's been great with our mission is we do something called a worldwide call every week. And we have basically it's a Zoom call that encompasses every missionary in our mission, which can be up to like around 150 people.
Wow.
And it's amazing. And I was asked to give a talk for one of them a couple of weeks ago. And as I was thinking about it, I was reading this article and it talked about the sort of unexpected ecological benefits of this crisis, right? So we're having pollution clear out, and it was talking about specifically these very highly industrial nations, you know, everything grinding to a halt, cars staying parked, factories shutting down. And it was talking about how in Wuhan, China, these older men and women were coming out on the streets saying this was the first time they'd seen the stars since their youth. Wow. Like they had not seen, and being in New Zealand, you can't even fathom that. I mean,
I know, can't even fathom it.
Objectively, the most beautiful country on the planet. I'm just going to say that. So,
come on.
It is. I always say if anyone's planning on going to Australia and doing a little bit in New Zealand at the end, I'm like, you're shanking it. You need to flip that order. I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, I wish I'd spent more time in Australia and less time in New Zealand."
There you go. Come on, preach.
Take that, Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. So I was reading this article, right, and it's this hope, right, that the pollution is clearing, the sky is opening up. And then the article ended on this very somber note. And basically it was like, and then the factories opened up and the cars started driving again and the pollution returned.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that sad symmetry. And I was reflecting on James where it talks about, you know, allow a trial to have its perfect work in you. I think a lot of people assume that a trial equals change. It doesn't. A trial is an opportunity for change, but it is not a guarantee of change. And for me, it was like this metaphor kind of clicked in my head. It's like this is a pollution clearing season for the world, where for a second we can stop and say, what have I allowed to pollute my relationships with other people, with God? What have I allowed in? And so, anything from busyness to consumerism to whatever it is. I mean, it could be a myriad of things. What do I not want to let come back?
Yeah.
Right. And so I've really been thinking about that. And I talked about some different things about ambition and busyness. And these were very catered towards our mission, because I really feel like though everyone is saying the right things, not everyone's going to come out of the other end of this as changed as God would intend. And I think a lot of people, you watch, human arrogance rebounds fast. And we will, the second we return, we're going to be back, right?
Yeah.
And the lessons that God might have us learn, we won't necessarily learn just because we've experienced the trial. We need to allow God to do that in us.
So
Amen. Yes, so good.
So true.
We had
Absolutely.
we had our senior pastor on the other week, and he talked about the hangi. So you've probably experienced the hangi in your time in New Zealand, as the way they put the meat and the vegetables in the ground and steam cook it essentially, and how there are many different degrees and types of the hangi when it comes out at the funnel. And you can have a really good hangi, or you can have a really bad one. And so he was using that analogy to talk about when we finally come out of this time, when we come out of the season, are we going to be well cooked? Or are we going to come out raw and almost like we were before we went in, kind of thing? And I think that ties in really powerfully with what you were just saying as well, in terms of what is the pollution we need to clear out of our skies and out of our heart and out of our day-to-day kind of thing. And as we come out of this, how do we maintain that as well? And so this is a beautiful segue for I guess the final question I want to ask you this morning is, from that perspective, as you look at the church, and I say the church with a capital C here, what would be your hope for us as we come out of this time, as we move into the future?
Yeah. Honestly, first thing I want to say is I feel like we live in an age where deconstructionism has become kind of a cool word, and it's often very cheap and it's very arrogant. What I want to say is that it starts with me. And honestly, I'm less concerned about pointing fingers at the Big C Church and what needs to change, as much as I'm interested in wanting to be more like Jesus when this is over than I was when it started. And so with that large caveat in place, it's all the things you hear, right? Like the church has become a destination. It's become an event. Like Tim Keller said to us when we had him on, he said it's like a light show, a rock concert, and a TED Talk. And we become seduced by the world and its model for what people want. I think that what we need is, one thing that I found beautiful is how church has started to come back to the home, right? And we've now, we have to lead our kids. We have to pray with our wives. We have to, we had Maddie Montgomery on, and he was saying how he got to baptize his sons. And we're talking to people all the time, and they're leading their kids in Bible studies. Like John Cooper, we had him on from Skill, and he was saying every day he's leading his 8-year-old son in a Bible study. And I'm going, I'm just trying to keep my 4-year-old from throwing food everywhere. I don't relate to you at all. But you know what I mean? We had my local pastor on, and he said, the church has left the building. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful, right? Because it needs to, but the church still matters. And so to me, it's not about pendulum swinging all the way to the other side, saying, "Oh, stuff the church, we don't need it." See, I just used a Kiwi expression now.
Yes,
it's coming back.
Yeah, there we go.
I got to find those gray shorts and those knee-high gray socks again. Whip those
and
bad
your
boys
Roman
on.
Sandals.
Roman sandals.
Dude, I haven't put on a pound since then. I think I could slip into those guys. It'd be fine. Although I have to say, I never bought the woolly, green, fuzzy sweater thing that those oppressive schoolyard. Anyway. So no, but in all honesty, I think that this is a beautiful opportunity to cleanse ourselves personally, to own our own spirituality. I think too many people, they show up on Sunday, but they haven't contended with their faith personally. It's not something that they fight for. I think ultimately a church is only as strong as its components, right? And if we all would become on fire for Jesus and refine ourselves and then come back to the church saying, I want to contribute what God has shown me together we will be amazingly strong, because the church ultimately is always going to be messy. It's always going to be flawed. It's always going to be being conformed or wrestling with the pressure to be conformed into the image of the world. And so for me, I think that this gives us an opportunity to reset, right? I think that's what everyone's talking about is, what do we not want to do when we go back? That's what I've been asking all of my guests is, what's one thing you're going to love to do when this is over, but what's one thing you don't want to come back? And I think this gives the church an opportunity to say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this the way we did, or hopefully individually we will take that on and say, yes, the church matters and I need the church, but I need to be leading my family spiritually. I need to take ownership.
So good.
You know, if Easter came and went for you and it made no difference, I'm not saying it's about traditions, but that should say something about your concern. I think ultimately it starts there, and then you look to be not a consumer of the church experience, but a giver to the church experience. And if we all have that mindset, it's like a good marriage. That thing's going to thrive then, rather than just be a place where we show up for an hour, drink coffee, and go home.
Yeah. Love it. Dude, come on. That sounds like a book. That sounds awesome, man.
There's a book in the making there.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah.
Ben, so good. We're going to start wrapping things up here. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to pray for us as we close out our time together today. But yeah, so huge reaction from the comments. People loving what you're sharing. But I think the message is clear. And I think Michaela actually sums it really well. We have to own our spirituality. This is the time we really have to own it. We can't, because I think, like you said, there's like a lot of time we rely on what the church brings and stuff like that. And you're smiling because you know.
Eric, I got good images of that guy in my head. We go back to a time that it's like mutually assured destruction. He won't share stories about me because I got stories about him.
It's owning it, and it's making sure we actually do that as we come out of this time, because we have become, I think, a lot, like what you're saying, we do become dependent really quickly, really easily, whether it be Netflix or whether it be church on Sunday. We kind of have it as the tick of we've done our work, spiritual work for the week kind of thing, and it's becoming more than that now, and continuing, which I think is an awesome challenge for us moving forward.
So true.
I want to invite everybody. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 9:00. Who we have on escapes my mind, so you'll have to wait until tomorrow to find out.
It's gonna be good though.
So make sure you're back. We might just get Ben back again, maybe. Who knows? I think
you have to ask my wife.
Yeah, true. We could keep going for another hour.
I'm not in charge. You know that.
But I think now's a good time probably to wrap things up. But make sure, if you want to, you can listen back to this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts later in the day.
Yeah,
there's so much in here that it's going to be worth another round of listening to. But Ben, why don't you pray for us as we close out our time together?
Yeah, and just encourage you, if you want to check out the Provoke and Inspire podcast.
Yes.
We have it's now three days a week. We actually did every day for 2 weeks after this lockdown happened, and it was too diminishing returns, too stressful. So we backed up for 3 days a week.
3 times a week.
But we have Tommy Green from formerly of Sleeping Giant on Monday. He's always a wild ride. 5 Red Bulls deep every day. But anyway,
Monday is Tuesday our time, just so our listeners know as well.
Sorry. You guys are time traveling.
And Bernie, you'll put those links on our Facebook page.
I'll check the links in the comment section after we're done. But yeah, come and live. Check out Steiger. Check out the Provoke and Inspire podcast. Jump onto the Is There More page as well. So much to check out after this, and you can go to Ben's own Facebook page as well. He's got a profile there as well. You can watch him, and you can follow his social handle as well that you can see on the screen as well at New Zealand Ben.
Sorry, Force of Habit. That's just my yard stream.
It's good. It's good. But Ben, why don't you pray for us?
Sure, Lord, I thank you for the technology that allows us to have conversations like this. But more importantly, I thank you that you are powerful. I thank you that you are not overwhelmed or confused. Lord, I don't believe you caused this, but I believe you are using this. And what I do know is that you are so concerned. You are not indifferent to suffering. You prove that by sending your son into the middle of the worst suffering to prove that you are not far from us. You are walking with those that do not have jobs right now, that you are walking with those who have lost people, who are living in incredible uncertainty, Lord. You are walking with those who have been in literal lockdown inside of small apartments and are going crazy, Lord. You're with those that have small kids and are wondering how to handle it all, and everything in between. You are limitless in your capacity for for being with us and for meeting us at the place that we're at, Lord. So I thank you for that. And God, we do pray that you would not allow us to return to normal, Lord. Normal was not
Thank
okay.
you, Lord.
Lord, we are not satisfied with what we experience personally. We're not satisfied with our intimacy with you. We're not satisfied with the pollution that we allow to come in, God. So deal with that. Allow this trial to have its work in us so that at the other end of this, we will be more sharp tools. We'll be sharper tools in your hands, Lord, vessels of gold, worthy for any noble purpose. God, I pray that the church would come out of this refined with a clear focus, with a boldness, and with a understanding of the urgency, Lord, that we live in right now, that we do not know, God, and that not only could a virus like this come and go and then come back again, but for every person we meet, eternity is only a handful of decades away, God. And so burn that urgency in us, and thank you for your incredible grace and mercy, that when we fall, you're right there to pick us back up. And that it in no way is about our perfection. And thank goodness for that, Lord. I know that I need your mercy every day. So bless these guys, bless the church, Lord, bless those that are connecting still, though it is difficult, and let us return to normal in the sense that we can be together once again, God. And we thank you for all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome.
Oh, Ben, too
So
good.
good.
So
Thanks,
good.
bro.
Thank you, guys.
Oh man,
Dude.
Hey, and on the
But,
clock,
So good to
I
have
got
you
about
with us.
41 minutes of chill time alone.
well, and on that, we'll release you. And but thank you again for your time
Oh,
today, and
thank
everybody
you
else.
so much.
Thanks, guys.
We will
Yeah,
see
man.
you back here
Peace.
tomorrow morning at 9:00. Catch you guys
Yo.
later.
See you.